Welcome to Season 2 of Hammered with Cars, presented by Troll Patrol Racing. I'm TJ, and this is Tyler.
Well, hi.
There you go.
It's been a minute.
All right.
It's good to be back, though.
Yeah, it is. It's been, and I guess we'll get right into the first thing is the 2021 Autocross season that we had.
Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting season.
Started off the season not in the 300.
Right.
But it's still torn down. Despite, like you guys saw, having tires, the car was not ready to go right away. So I ended up driving my brother's 1985 Camaro. As well as driving Tyler's S10 for a while, which we had some awesome drone footage of.
Dramatically different vehicles.
Yep, two very dramatically different vehicles, both slow for very different reasons. The S10 was particularly slow because it's a 2.2 liter four-cylinder that
Naturally
makes
aspirated, totally stock.
no power.
Yeah.
And the other one has a 350 small block with like 10.5 or 11-to-1 compression. And being in such a long car, it has no problem getting the rear end out. If I was going to be slow, definitely would rather be slow in the Camaro, as it's a lot more fun to drive.
Just more entertaining.
But driving something is better than driving, well, nothing.
Yeah. How's that go? It's more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to drive a fast car slow.
That is...
Or to drive nothing at all.
I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true, though, because, like, sliding isn't fast, but it's fun.
Well, that's true.
And if it's a fast car...
I think we're talking about, like, ice cream cruises here.
Well, okay. We got our drinks, obviously. Hammer with cars. Try not to slurp as much. And then after that, got the 300ZX going just in time for 4th of July, which was a high-speed autocross event out at Black Hawk Farms. Where I immediately went off the track a lot and then proceeded to blow the head gasket. So the car was immediately down again after getting the suspension back in.
Solid start to the middle of the season.
Yeah, yep. Definitely a solid start. I think I did one autocross. Did I do an autocross before that? No, I didn't.
I don't think
I did
so.
because had a kid. So I didn't, that was kind of a part of, had time off work, so get the car back together.
Yeah. And congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
Bringing another troll into the world.
Yes, that's exactly right. His initials are actually TRL, so he's a troll.
There you go.
And so head gasket blew, got the car apart, ended up using a straight edge and feeler gauges, and there was a little, I wouldn't even call it warp because technically it was within spec for a 300ZX, but it was on the kind of end of spec, and decided to take it to a machine shop and have them just...
Yep, I think I had a large hand in talking you into doing it the right way.
Yes.
Do it right or do it twice,
Yep.
or in your case, 17 times.
Yep. And actually he kind of confirmed the same thing, that there wasn't really that much warp to it or inconsistency, but there was one low spot, and it was right where the head gasket blew.
Yep.
So top tip for tonight, if you pull heads from a junkyard and just slap them onto the engine, maybe take them to a machine shop, especially since I was putting them on a 300ZX and the heads came off of a Mercury Villager because they used a Nissan V6.
Right.
So those heads probably were not necessarily spec'd the same as what the 300s were, or they were, and it was just going to happen regardless of what I did. So did that, then...
and shout out to Josh at River City Motorworks.
Yep.
So that's
down
where
in
I take
Dubuque.
all my machine work. That's where you take your stuff.
Yep.
Does a really good job with that stuff.
And
he enjoys the high performance stuff.
Yes,
so
he
likes
does.
seeing that
Yes,
stuff in there.
I think he got it. Dropped it off there on a Thursday, and he had it back to me on a Tuesday,
Yep.
or the following Tuesday. So it was very, very quick too. Then after that, car ran great. Was enjoying it. And then August came around. So his first one was 4th of July weekend. Then August came around, August 28th, 29th, something like that. Another high-speed autocross event out at Black Hawk Farms. And I was ready to just, prove everything out, especially since Kyle was there with his 300ZX, and they're built very similar. We've done a little bit different direction as far as aero and things like that. But otherwise, almost identical. Both have the 9-to-1 compression NA engine in it. He has a stock turbo. I've got a T3, T4 turbo from Arizona Turbo. So very close. I mean, I wasn't running much. I wasn't running any more boost than he was. In fact, he may have been running more boost than I was, just because I had.
I was going to say, I think
the bigger
your turbo should flow a little bit more CFMs, but his was running a little bit more pressure.
Right, exactly. And we're both on the stock fuel system still. And so get there, go out for my first set of HPDE sessions in the morning. I think I got 2 or 3 laps in, and I'm coming around to take that next lap. So just coming around turn 7 it is. It's the last turn to go down the straight. And all of a sudden the car just kind of pops and everything just goes dead. And the way it felt to me is that coupler for the turbo had blown off or something, and then it just dumped fuel and killed the engine. Couldn't get it restarted. Thankfully, I was able to pull into the pit lane or grid lane or whatever you want to call it there at Black Hawk Farms. So I was able to get off the track without really getting in anyone's way or anything like that, which was lucky. I couldn't get it started. Got some people to help me push it back to the pits. And after finding no couplers blown,
I had to come save the day again.
Yep, and basically we ended up taking the timing cover off because we figured out it was something timing with the ignition. It just seemed off, the way it was backfiring and sputtering and everything
Trying
like
to
that.
pop back through the intake.
Yep, exactly. And so we took the front timing cover off, because you can actually take it off without really taking anything else off and exposing it, and counted the teeth between or on the belt between the 2 camshaft gears and everything.
Just verified it's where it belongs.
Yep, to verify it's where it needed to be, and it was. And we were about to start messing with the distributor when Tyler said...
You were about to yank the distributor, and I was like, hold on a second here. Just pull the cap and make sure you didn't have a broken rotor or a broken cap or something before you go screwing with your actual physical timing.
And so we pulled the rotor cap off, and lo and behold, the screw that holds the rotor in place had backed out and was just flailing around in there. Put that back in, and it started right up. And I went out, actually, and it must have happened, now that I'm thinking about it, it must have happened right when the distributor bolt backed out, and it spun that rotor.
Yep.
It probably dumped a bunch of fuel, backfired, and it blew my flex pipe.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Which was already a sketchy situation to begin with.
Well, it had to have been.
Minor league turned into a major league.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Yep. And so blew flex pipe, and that was kind of that.
The result of that being,
and
can't make proper boost numbers anymore.
Right, and I don't think it wasn't leaking terribly when I went back out for my second HPDE session, because I went out there, and I was out there for 10-15 minutes out of a 20-minute session. And after blowing a head gasket, I just kind of went out to get comfortable in the car. I wasn't set to do another 20-minute session, have full chat.
Right.
Which I never should have done anyways. Another top tip. Go out for HPDE and pick 3 corners to do at top chat, and then the others do like 80%, and then slowly move what 3 corners you're doing to help you kind of learn the track better. I didn't think of that. Someone else told me that. And I was like, oh, that was a really good idea. Why didn't I think of that? No, I'll just blow a head gasket. And so that cut my day a little short, but at least the car ran. And I think the next weekend, I had a spare flex pipe in my spare parts bin, and it took me about 2 hours to change or something like that.
Sure.
So that was fairly easy. Then raced the rest of the season without any problems. Finally made it up to US Air in
how was
Shawano
that?
Falls.
It looks like it's awesome.
It's a very cool track.
It's just kind of like a mini road course, right?
Right. We'll show a clip of it here. It's about a 40-second clip of me racing. And so, as you can see, it's a very it's interesting because it's not quite as small as a go-kart track like Road America is.
Right. But it's not as big as a full-size track like Black Hawk Farms.
Right. But it gives you much more of that Black Hawk Farms. You get more speed. I mean, you're grabbing third gear, and I don't think we've ever grabbed third gear up at Road America. I mean, they've tried to make some bits, but yep, I've never had to grab third gear at Road America.
Sometimes at MIS, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, yep, that's a bank turn kind of thing that really pushes that. And so it was very interesting. It was very fun. Everyone told me it was slick that day. I know there was at US Air, the big thing there is drifting. You can find tons of videos on YouTube. If you just search US Air Shawano, you'll find tons of videos of people drifting there. It's the owner's son is a drifter, and so that's a big thing that they do there. And I guess they were there the night before, and then that night and even early into that morning, it rained. Oh. So I almost wonder if it pulled all the grease and everything out of the track. So everyone said it was slick. I was on fairly new tires that were 295s, and I was like, I don't know.
It feels pretty good.
It feels a hell of a lot better than Road America's go-kart track, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, that go-kart track at Road America, as fun as that is, that new pavement on there, even though it's, 3 years old now? It's just still so slick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that was kind of the end of the season. After that was the US Air. All in all, it was pretty good. I was actually surprised at US Air. I was calculating things up, and the most I've ever done in a season was 18 events, and that was in 2017.
Sure.
In that July, I raced every weekend.
Yep.
And I think I actually did a Saturday and Sunday race as well on that weekend. And this year, I did 15 or 16 events, which I thought was pretty good considering all things.
Yep.
With the car being down and having a kid.
Yep.
Some of the great things we saw at US Air was someone money shifting their Honda Civic to oblivion.
Nice.
That was
make a lawn sale out of the crank and rods.
No, that was the good thing. It did not. It didn't put anything on the track. That was the only good thing about it. Then we also saw Camaro SS, like catfish body style, so 2000, 2002.
Sure.
Lost his balancer while we were just
nice.
Came over the hill, and all of a sudden you hear ting 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 ting, and you're like, what was that? Here someone comes walking off with the balancer.
Gonna kind of need that.
Yeah.
If you want power steering, alternator, water pump on that car, you're gonna need that.
Yeah, exactly. Literally everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a wrap up of
and the season for me was it was an okay season. I mean, I enjoyed it, made it to I think how many events did Madison have this year?
They had 9.
9. So I think I did 7 events this year.
Okay.
I had tire problems, is what I had this season.
That's right.
Yep, I had.
We can show some pictures.
Yeah,
of that
we can
too.
show some pictures of that. But I had one tire that had been repaired in the past, and the repair failed, and it went down on me on the highway. So then I had to try and find a couple tires. Well, since it was halfway through the season and I couldn't find tires for a decent price, because this was the year of the tire shortage.
Yes,
Everybody
it was.
had a hard time finding tires this year. But since I couldn't find any reasonable price on tires, I ended up using those old Kumo XS scabs that I had just laying around.
Oh, yep,
And
yep.
they actually did surprisingly well for being a tire that's like 6 years old,
Maybe older.
maybe older.
Because when we started in 2012, 2013.
But
And
I got them
wasn't
from-
the V720 around by then?
Yeah, but this isn't a 200 turbo tire.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like
Nope.
the predecessor.
Nope, it's not a
okay.
predecessor. It's a different class of tire.
Okay.
Um,
I don't know shit apparently.
but they actually did surprisingly well for being as old as they are and having lived in winter weather for several years. They actually came back to life pretty well.
Well, in a 2.2 liter S10.
Right, yeah, but I mean, the thing corner's good, so it's good. Tires is tires. So they're going sideways. They still got to perform well.
Right.
But after that blowout on the highway, then it was the last Madison event, second to last Madison event.
Yeah, second to last
Yeah.
at MIS.
Yep. Ran over a nail. First time I've ever seen a nail go in the tread face and out the
Sidewall. Yep.
So KO'd another tire, and I wasn't able to erase my truck that day. Luckily, my spare holds air and is sufficient for me to get home.
Right.
But I got to drive Reed's Nissan for that event, and it reminded me,
350Z.
yeah, his 350.
Which immediately after driving it on the track the first time, he's like, "No, I need to get one of these."
Yep, I was walking around asking people if they wanted to buy a Sonoma. And it was just a solid reminder of, even though I enjoy my Sonoma and it's leaps and bounds better than a stock truck, obviously,
It's kind
it
of
still
garbage.
has so far to go if I actually want to be seriously competitive.
Right.
So, and with legit absolute goals to get the rover swap done on that this off season. Power is going to help.
Remember
but
when we talked
it doesn't
about?
handle properly. Yet.
Remember when we talked about last year's episodes about doing the rover swap?
Yeah.
We probably could have, if we'd done the podcast for like the last 2 years, you would have heard us talking about the rover swap still.
Yep. That's been a bit of an ongoing project, but we're getting her nailed down this year. So
Okay.
shop bay's cleaned out and close to cleaned out, and when the truck comes in, it's getting taken apart immediately, so there's no going back.
I'm honestly more interested in doing the 6-speed swap on the C4.
Yeah.
So Tyler's
Yep, we are
C4
gonna do
transmission, a gear must have just exploded in there.
Yep, third gear went poo-poo.
Yep, just blew apart because he can still drive the car,
Sorta.
and then it just kind of comes to a screeching halt because something gets jammed in some of the gears. So you can't drive it very far, but you can
very fast.
Yep, you can drive it over to the shop.
Yeah. But yeah, I got the ZF 6-speed, the ZF 6-4.
Yep.
Which is out of the later C4.
Yeah, like the 90, or no, I guess it's
started in 89.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
it did start in
They
with
actually
the
had
TPI
one
still.
year where they had the TPI
PI.
and the 6-speed.
Yep. Did you have to get TPI specific?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. They'll work either way.
It's
But
old
I did
enough
get
that it doesn't.
But I did get a black label, which is supposed to be stronger, which is the older one.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
That I do
The newer
remember.
ones had a
Yep.
blue label, and
That's
so
right.
I did get one of the older ones. They're hard to find. It's hard to find the whole package, because aside from just the transmission, you have to have the drive shaft, and you have to have the torque arm mount, and you have to have the hydraulics and the flywheel and the clutch. You have to have all that stuff for that transmission to work. And it's not to say that I couldn't buy it one piece at a time, but most transmissions that you see for sale, don't even have a bell housing on them, let alone
Right.
any of the other stuff. And trying to find just a
Just a
bell
bell
housing
housing?
is really hard. So as soon as I seen this for $1,500, I was like, fine,
Yep, buy
I'll
it.
take it.
Yep. Do you know if there was a rear end difference?
Yeah.
Or like gear is what I'm talking about. I guess there could be the U joint mounting,
Oh,
whatever you want to say.
no,
that
yeah,
plate could be
as
different. I
far
know
as
it's
the-
different in the Z31s depending on the years you
Sure.
get and stuff. I'm more concerned about the rear end gear. Is that going to need to be changed to go to the 6-speed,
It
or is
doesn't
it
need to be-
basically like 5th is overdrive and 6th is like super duper overdrive?
Right, that's basically what it's going to be.
Okay.
Is it's going to be geared pretty low, or pretty high, I should say. You know,
Right.
It's going to have really long
But
gears.
are your first, second, and third really any different than the 4-speed?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yep, the 4-speed has really, really long gears
Okay.
in it. Because
So will you be doing launches and second?
maybe we'll see. So it's kind of a 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. That the downside is that engine doesn't rev out very high. Like you get to 4,800 RPMs, that's it. It's done making power. You got to shift
Right.
now. So if the gears are super short, it could be kind of annoying because I might be using like a 500 RPM span in the rev range.
Oh.
It'll sound cool. It'll sound like I'm going really fast. but we'll just kind of have to play it by ear and see. Worst case scenario, it'll just be another upgrade that if I need to get a different rear end gear for
Right,
it,
which is pretty.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
But for the time being, it'll be sufficient and it'll be fine. So if nothing else, super short gears might be able to make it into a drift car with very little to no effort.
Jesus Christ. Build the S10 for autocross and just turn the C4 into high-speed autocross stuff.
That'll
that
probably be the primary goal.
you'll have to find a way to open that engine up more. Because right now, the way the engine works, it works great for autocross because it's just lots of torque.
It actually does do amazing for
Right.
autocross right now, specifically for like our club events where we have really tight short tracks.
Right.
If you start going to things like Optima and stuff like that where they have much faster tracks, or if I went to try to go to SCCA Nationals,
Right.
where it's a huge track compared to the types of tracks that we run typically, it would struggle a little bit more. Just because of
lot more.
well, yeah, I mean,
Or sorry, maybe the driver would struggle.
well, yeah, you start stacking me up against the nation's best, and I'm gonna probably look a fool. But I'll do my best.
I'll do my best. So one of the things that we did in at least autocross, and kind of part of our autocross fun, we always try to get together and enjoy the time either before or after the autocross, whether it's kind of staying up maybe later than we should before the autocross. It's one of those things. I wish autocross was I kind of wish it was on a Saturday so I could have Sunday to recover, because I do go in Monday sometimes, and when you're standing out in the heat for so long, it's like ugh.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of one of those things. I'm sure Saturday, especially in the summer, Saturday is when people plan things, whether it's graduation parties or whatever it is.
Yeah,
It's usually
just family events.
Yeah,
stuff
it's
like that.
usually on a Saturday,
Yeah.
and probably for the same reason, is because then Sunday you get off. And but thankfully, the one event we did do this year was the August 28th high-speed autocross, and that was on a Saturday. And also on that fateful Saturday was King of the Mountain 2021. And this created a great opportunity. And this is why I wasn't even that bummed when my flex pipe blew, because it was kind of like, well, I'm done racing. If Kyle's car breaks, we'll just load it up on the trailer and we'll go and start drinking, and we'll get ready for UMI King of the Mountain. So if you don't know what UMI King of the Mountain is, it's a race that takes place at UMI Motorsports Park. It's something that they host. It's kind of, I don't want to say their take or their knock at SCCA Nationals. I don't. It's not a
totally
knock at that.
different thing
It
altogether.
is because it's not as classed out or anything. It is more of a run what you brung. It is.
Yep,
There
it's
are
very open.
there are
There's full
classes. Yeah, there are classes and everything. But at the end of the night, it doesn't matter what class you're in. You got to get FTD if you want to win. That's how it is. So on their website here. The event, they host the top autocross and pro touring cars and drivers in the nation. They run 125 cars for 2 days on 2 separate courses with the goal of crowning a king of the mountain, hence the name, who will etch their name in the record books along with Swenson and Smedegard. The qualifying for the 32-car shootout will take place on Friday and Saturday. On Saturday evening, the gates open at 5 p.m. in preparation for the big shootout. So, as you can see, it's got almost a lot of theater to it, where they're stretching it over 2 days, but rightfully so, because they're bringing in 125 cars. You have to get an invitation to this event.
I was going to say it's invite only, or you can win a golden ticket by several different methods.
Right. Through a couple of the autocrosses they have. So there's different avenues of getting in. The other reason for the theater is that the payout for the event is $25,000, and that pays out to the top 8 spots. So specifically, what I know from kind of rewatching some of the videos that some of these participants did, which we'll talk about here in a moment, it was was it 10 grand or 15 grand? I think it was 15.
I think it's 15,000 to the winner.
Yeah, it was 15,000 to the winner, and then 5,000 went to second place.
Yeah.
And then that last 5,000 was broken up along those other 8 positions.
Correct. Yeah.
So as
and the way they determined the final positions is that 32-car shootout is basically just a bracket style.
Yep. It's a bracket style race. You're put up against someone, and you've got to run the best time. You get 2 runs, is what it was. 2 runs to put your best time. So when you talk about clean runs meaning something, this was an event where they really, really meant something. You heard me mention the names Swenson and Smedegard. That would be Jeremy Swenson and Andy Smedegard. God, I hope I'm saying those names right. I don't know. Jeremy Swenson, he won back at the inaugural
King of the Mountain.
Yep, King of the Mountain 1.0. And he was racing his ZR1 C6 Corvette,
which was very much un-ZR1.
Yeah, okay. That was one of the things I wasn't sure about. If it was a ZR1 still at that point, it actually had...
I mean, once a ZR1, it's always a ZR1.
Okay.
But it no longer had a supercharger. It's like converted to a naturally aspirated...
And are you sure that was the 2019? It wasn't in 2020 when he did that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If someone's wrong, flame him in the comments.
Right. Yeah. Burn me alive. But I'm pretty confident in that.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jeremy Swenson and he won that in 2019, and Andy Smedegard from ASM Motorsports
in the Super K Adventures car, that little green guy.
Yes, Alex Moss's car.
Yep.
He won that, and I believe, like you said, it's a K-Swap S2000, and he won that on, I believe it was the CR1, the Nane King, the new Nane King tires, which I believe Swenson won on the V720
the
ACRs,
tires,
which are no longer legal anymore for this event. Or at least they weren't legal for this year's event. Who knows what they'll do next year. I assume next year it won't even really matter because tire's pretty old at this point.
It is. I think that the reason that it was so popular, well, I know for sure that Jeremy Swenson really liked it because it had a lot more forward traction, linear traction, compared to most other 200 treadwear tires.
Oh.
And as brutal as his ZR1 Corvette was,
it needed it. Okay.
That's why he really liked it.
Well, anyways, the 2021 champion was Robert Thorne, who is the driver of the Big Bad Wolf S2000. And Robert Thorne was invited to the event. That's what I got from his Facebook page, YouTube page, watching a few things. And I had actually come across him before, and I didn't realize it until looking at it. He's actually won a couple of the SCCA Nationals in the SSM class with this S2000.
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am. So which, go on YouTube, Facebook, check these guys out. Jeremy Swenson, Andy Smedegard, Robert Thorne. They document a lot of the stuff that they do.
And they do a lot more than just SCCA and
or Autocross.
UMI.
Yep, they do a lot of track days.
Grid life stuff too.
Yep. Andy has some great beginner tutorials for a lot of the Midwest. Well, even he has one for Road Atlanta and stuff like that of how to what you're supposed to do in the corners. How to enter a corner if it's your first time going there. So kind of helping you lay the groundwork of how you should attack a track if you haven't been there before. So definitely check out their YouTube videos. There's a lot of helpful stuff there. A
lot of other good information, like
right.
Andy is very deeply involved in the building of that Super K Adventures car. With they're kind of doing some really groundbreaking stuff with that.
Right, the dual clutch transmission
in that car.
Which ironically they then had issues with that.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're doing new technology, swapping stuff into vehicles where it doesn't really belong and just making it work to try and make the car better, you're bound to have some good stuff. So.
I was watching Robert Thorne's video on the King of the Mountain, and I don't know if it was I think it was for his launch control.
Mm-hmm.
He has a speed sensor that reads off the drive shaft, and it wasn't working, so he had some issues with his launch control, and all I thought was, wow. Yeah, we're nowhere.
No. Yeah. Every time I think to myself,
nothing
I want to get in on some of these national level events, and then when we watched the King of the Mountain that night, I was like, who are we kidding? Who are we kidding?
But it was a very cool thing to watch. They did a pretty good job of live streaming it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did the right thing by live streaming it on Facebook. Because the best part is then all the people watching could comment.
Live stream chat.
Yes, so there's a live stream chat, and we're here to take credit right now for the drinking game that was created for UMI King of the Mountain 3.0, which was every time someone hit a cone, take a drink. And there's a couple other areas where you have to take a drink, but we'll get into that. And as we learned that night, and as a few other people that were on the chat that decided to participate with us, that was maybe a mistake. We thought there would be very few cone hits because these guys spent lots of money building the cars.
National level event. There
this
should be a lot
is
of really clean racing.
No, and these guys were giving it all, and they made us pay.
Yep.
There was a lot of cones hitting.
Turns out whether or not you're an amateur or a professional, the only way you know the limit is to find it.
It's like drinking. It's like having a drink every time someone says the F word in Hot Tub Time Machine. You may be thinking, I don't remember that many F words in Hot Tub Time Machine. You start drinking to every single one, you realize there's a lot of F words in that movie. Anyways, so it ended up being quite a few. It did not help that there was a couple DNFs, and the DNF rule was drink and finish. And
naturally DNF. That's what that's.
Yep, and then thanks to Robert Thorne, who was constantly setting FTDs, it was finish the drink. So there was a lot of consumption that night, not just with the Troll Patrol, which is what we did after that high-speed autocross, so we could drink away our sorrows of the flex pipe blowing, or at least I could. But I think that went till about 10 o'clock or so, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And by 10 o'clock, it was like, please stop hitting cones. Just take it easy. Stop hitting cones. Relax. And the last bracket came up. It was Robert Thorne in his S2000, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The V8 FC. We'll put the name up here. We'll do some research and look into it. We'll put the name up here.
Is that the safety third crew?
Yeah, it is the safety third crew, I believe. I think that's correct. They're FC, which is an LS swap, and Robert Thorne had been just killing it with the times as far as consistency, but also being, I think, 1 to 2 seconds ahead of everyone. So when that RX-7 got up there, he knew he had to give it all. And when he went out there, he was giving it all. And took out 5 cones. Took out just an entire row of cones, trying to chase that best time. And it turned into a very, very interesting event. But congratulations to Robert Thorne. Some great driving. Gotta say, the name, the Big Bad Wolf, the entire night, I could only think of this song.
The Big Bad Wolf.
And so naturally now, anytime that somebody brings up Robert Thorne and the Big Bad Wolf, or just the Big Bad Wolf in general, that song is just
Plays
goes
through our
on
head.
loop.
So congratulations, you have permanently ingrained that song with your car, at least in the mind of the Troll Patrol. Oh, but no, it was a very cool event. I'm glad UMI decided to take the time to live stream it.
Yeah.
It's something that I really wanted to try and get to this year. It didn't work out with everything else going on. It looks like a really, really fun event. So I'm really glad they live streamed it and allowed everyone else who couldn't make it there be a part of it, and that was awesome. So watch out for that. Like I said, it was towards the end of August of 2021. Look for that in 2022. I imagine they're going to have the same thing, and the competition is probably going to be even better this coming year. Yep.
One thing that I was really, really happy to see for this year, just to prove that it's not like a buddy club thing, there was a lot of first-time drivers.
Right, like Robert Thorne, he was one that was invited there.
Yep, he was a King of the Mountain rookie. And there was a lot of other King of the Mountain rookies that were in the 32-car shootout. So it's good to see that even though there's certain people that they clearly want to be able to have there year after year.
Yep, a lot of the pro touring guys and stuff like that. Yep,
they are willing and open to inviting new people to try and keep that competition level high.
Yep, definitely.
So, I'm really excited to just see how that facility continues to grow and expand and do more stuff like this.
Well, they are. I don't know. Well, their UMI Motorsports Park is being used in Summit's Autocross Week.
Sure.
And if you don't know what this is, Summit's come out within the last month and a half or so. Summit announced this event, the Autocross Week, and it's kind of to not go against, but it's the autocross version of what you would say drag week is.
Yep.
So you show up to the track, you autocross at that track, and then you have to drive that car, and can't change tires or anything like that. And the rules, it says you can only have one spare tire. And you can have 2 spare tires if you're running 2 different sizes.
Sure.
And if you blow a tire or something like that, you have to get a hold of whoever the steward is, explain what's going on, so that way they know that you have to change a tire. You have to have a reason. You can't just say, well, I kind of blew through this tire, or this tire's greasy now, I'm going to throw this other tire.
We had a lot of left-handed turns, and my right side tire's toast. I
Right,
switch.
right, exactly. It has to be, nope, I can
puncture.
no longer function on this tire. So, there's rules like that, but you have to drive to each track and race on each track, and you can only have a 4x8 foot trailer towed behind the car for any spare parts or anything like that. So it looks like a pretty cool event. I'm considering doing it, especially now that I've got access to an RV. It'd be more figuring out trailering the car down there and kind of getting a group of people to go, because someone's going to have to pilot the RV, someone would have to pilot the truck and trailer, and I have to pilot the car. They also have in the rules, only certain people can work on the car.
Yep.
So you can't just bring
if it's
you can't bring a Formula One pit crew to work.
If it's similar to drag week, it's you and one partner.
No, the way drag week is, and it is similar to drag week, it's you and anyone with a green wristband, which would be any of the drivers.
Oh, okay.
So any driver can help you,
sure,
which is smart, because let's say you bring an extra transmission because there's a possibility you could blow a transmission, and you blow a transmission, are you really expected to strong arm that transmission up in there by yourself?
If you have a T5, yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's a very interesting thing. So the UMI is kind of a part of that because they're one of the venues along that line.
Sure.
It looks like, and it was like Pennsylvania and Ohio that they were traveling through.
Yep.
So kind of considering that's middle of July. I believe it's like something from the 12th or 11th to the 15th or something like that. So check that out. That'll be a pretty interesting to watch. It'd be nice to see if they do some kind of live stream or coverage like UMI has done. I wouldn't be surprised if UMI does coverage on their specific area. But that's going to be another one that's going to bring out a lot of people. And I believe that one is supposed to be 300 cars.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's going to be pretty limited on the runs. If I remember correctly from reading on the page, you're going to get something like
2 or 3 runs in a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Well,
you
that'll
get
be
2 runs and then go, and then your like time is based on an average.
Okay.
So it is one of those things like I blew my flex pipe. I'd be better off continuing to drive the car and just getting crap times
Right.
to at least
Yeah,
race.
like if you blew your flex pipe out, you make your runs, you get your average time because a crappy run's better than a 0, and or a DNF
Exactly.
or a DNS.
Right.
at that point.
Right.
And then you fix it. These kind of events, like Drag Week, you break the car, you pull really long hours at night to fix the car.
Right.
In the hotel parking lot.
Which is what would give me an advantage because I've had to disassemble that car so many times. I have so many spares.
You know, none of the nuts and bolts are rusted on because they've
Exactly. They've
all
all
been
been
off last year.
exactly. So, and the nice thing is you can trailer the car to the event, but it cannot be on a trailer during the event. That will
Sure.
get you disqualified. Originally, I thought it was you had to drive the car to the event. And the thing I was trying to wrap my head around is, could I justify driving all the way out to Pennsylvania in a 1986 300ZX that's kind of suspension?
Yeah, it's harsh on the street, that's for sure.
Right. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's no Cadillac, but
So that was King of the Mountain. And also one of the things that we kind of got to participate, or I guess get to see firsthand, is Tyler went down to Florida to the Ranger Danger event.
Danger Ranger.
Danger Ranger.
Stranger Danger.
Yeah, Stranger
Ranger.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to go down to the Freedom Factory and actually see the Danger Ranger 9000
Yep.
in person. And that was so much fun. That's a really fun facility.
And we had a local member, a guy that we autocross with. I actually live like 10 minutes from him in the same city. And he's helped us out before in times when we've needed spacers wheel studs. Yep. Nathan Minsky, he was down there racing in that. So it was,
and
it was
he actually had an excellent performance in that race. So, their starting position is just by draw. It's random draw. And he drew dead last. So he started dead last. And it appeared as though he had a really solid running truck. And he is a very solid driver.
Yes, he is.
I don't think that his truck had any sort of a power leg up on anybody else because he, on the straightaways, he definitely wasn't faster than everybody else on the straightaways, but his driving ability definitely showed.
I do know he was very specific in the Ranger he bought. And I think he drove all the way down to Indiana to get it because he was looking for a specific trim and everything like that to save as much weight as possible. So he had thought it out well.
Right.
That doesn't surprise me that he may have had something that
did handle better.
Right. Handle better and was lighter and
And he pretty quickly worked his way all the way up to the front, and if I remember correctly, I think he led more laps than anyone else in that race.
Really?
Yeah. He led a lot of laps.
Okay.
And he did very, very well. Unfortunately, had a couple of restarts that didn't really go his way, whether that's his shortcoming in just having a poor restart, or if there were some questionable restarts by other drivers jumping the gun, not particularly following the start line, pass line rules.
Gotcha.
We'll leave that for another conversation. But no, he had a very good showing, and he had a really good time doing it, and I know that he would really love to go back down there and do another event like that again. If
I'm sure he will. Yeah.
But no, for his short of amount of time as the Freedom Factory has been open and operating, very, very well-run event, properly staffed. The safety crew was there on point and doing well at all times. You know, there was multiple rollovers in the danger range.
As you would expect.
Yep. But yeah, it was just overall very good event, very good facility. So they've done a bang up job of reviving that place, because when they bought it like a year and a half ago, it was weeds growing up out of all the cracks, and everything was all run down and trashed and gross, and yeah, they've done a really good job with it.
So that was it was a Ranger.
Ranger.
Gosh. Danger Ranger.
Yep.
500?
9,000.
9,000. The 9,000 means
nothing.
Okay. So how many laps do they do?
60 laps.
Okay. So it's kind of a mini
laps.
endurance kind of thing. And that's a half mile?
No, it's a 3/8
mile. Okay, as I say it.
Yep.
That's right. It's not quite that half mile. MIS, that's a
half mile.
It is a half mile.
Yep.
Okay. And there was 40.
They had 40 trucks slated to start, and I believe they actually started 38.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so pretty heavy field
and like
for
20 finished.
20 finished.
Yeah, there was quite a few trucks that between tire failures from the aggressive version of Rubbins racing, blowing out tires. And,
so was it just the Danger Ranger event, or was there other stuff going on with that? I mean, I know
they did a back-to-back where I think they had Cletus and Cars the following day.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So it's kind of a 2-day event. Okay.
Yep. Which It seems like that's pretty standard for them there. Like when they have the 2.4 hours of Les Mullets, which was this weekend.
Yep.
They did the 2.4 hours of Les Mullets yesterday, and then the Cletus and Cars today.
Okay. And Cletus and Cars is just burnouts?
It's like a car show, burnouts, meet and greet for, people of the channel and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Cletus and Cars is a traveling event. They don't only do it at their home track. They do it all around the nation. So they'll do one in Texas. I think they do Houston.
Okay.
I think they do Cletus and Cars Houston.
Okay.
And then they do Indianapolis. And, they travel around the nation and do Cletus and Cars events.
Okay.
And, like if you're a big follower of their channel, they just have kind of staple cars that are part of their channel, and they bring those with to all the events, like the Mystery Machine van with the rotary motor in it, and the have you seen that?
I don't watch any of their stuff. I know I probably should. I just don't have time.
It's like one of those little Asian key car van type things.
Oh,
and it's got a turbocharged 13B in it, so it makes like 600 horsepower. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. But then they've got Toast, that supercharged big block Camaro that you've seen earlier today.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Cletus and Cars ever involves drag events or not, but then they've got their staple drag cars like Ruby and Mullet, Camaro, El Camino, and Leroy the
that's right. Yep.
So they basically take all that stuff around all their Cletus and Cars events to show it off and just get people engaged and involved.
Okay. So now, what was the 2.4 hours of Le Mans or Le Mullets? That's
Les Mullets.
Les Mullets.
And again, the 2.4 doesn't mean anything because it was an hour and a half race, not a 2.4 hour race. It's just a spoof. It's
Just
funny.
throw some numbers at it and whatever.
But so with the Danger Ranger race, they did just the standard oval. For lay mullets, they took a vote on whether to do the regular oval or to do the kidney bean shape, where they actually cut back through the infield onto the skid pad,
Right,
or the
okay,
turnaround
yep,
pad,
yep.
and then back out to finish the oval.
Okay.
And that was the overwhelming vote to do the kidney bean style. I think it was like 87% or 90% voted for the kidney style, so it wasn't even close. So they did the whole race that way, and possibly the best part of that whole event was to block off the sections of the track to make you go down through the infield. Rather than using traffic cones or something like that, they used 50-gallon plastic barrels full of water. And, well, naturally, they got destroyed. And it splashed water all over the track. And after the barrels weren't there on the corners of the grass anymore, people started cutting the corners of the grass. So it was flinging mud and stuff all out onto the track. And that little...
No 2 wheels off rule or anything like that?
Well, they were supposed to, but apparently it didn't, that's a tough thing to enforce.
Right.
That's a tough
especially
thing to enforce.
on that kind of like...
Right. If it's an autocross or something like that, you can DNF them or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
exactly.
when every single car
Is doing it?
is doing it.
Yeah, and it's... Vroom, 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 vroom. Oh, okay, well, what the heck?
Yeah. But that dip down into the infield and back out basically turned into a low-speed drift section, and it really separated the drivers from the participants.
Yes. Oh.
So it was really interesting to see. I don't remember exactly how things panned out as far as number of cars on the lead lap at the very end of the race, but I know that at the halfway point when they did their driver switch.
Well, how many drivers?
Six.
How many drivers were there to begin with?
40 drivers, 20 cars.
40 drivers, 20 cars, right? Because they did a
Driver
okay,
switch at
yep,
the
they did a
halfway
driver
point.
switch, yep.
And
So you had
at the halfway point, there was only 6 cars left on the lead lap.
Okay,
So, yep.
that's pretty brutal.
That
And
is
I'm
brutal.
assuming it was already muddy by the time they did the switch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was muddy like
Okay.
4 laps in.
And so obviously Cletus was in it.
Yep.
And I know Kurt Busch,
Yeah, a lot
the
of...
good Busch.
Ooh.
Oh,
But yeah, no, there's Cletus has done a really good job of being able to attract some big names in motorsports and be able to get them there and get them involved, which is pretty cool. So, Alex Bowman, another NASCAR driver, was there.
Right, and he was driving with Cletus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, correct.
Yep.
Yep. And Kurt Busch drove with Von Gittin Jr. So that's another big name in motorsports. The Deegans, Haley Deegan and Brian Deegan, I think it was. They're both big in motorsports. They were there racing.
I don't know either of those names.
So go with the times, DJ. If I remember correctly, Haley Deegan, I think, does NASCAR, not Cup Series, but
The
next one
Xfinity
down.
Series?
Yeah. And then if I remember correctly, Brian is his name. Brian Deegan does like motocross or dirt bike, off-road dirt bike type stuff.
Interesting.
So, and then you've got people like David Freiberger.
Oh,
which is-
yeah. I thought you were about to say like David Attenborough, which is...
Nope.
It's like, really? The guy that does all the documentaries?
But you never know. Could happen. So, but no, it was a good race. Really, it was entertaining to watch. So, and the pay-per-view, they're getting better and better all the time. Their pay-per-view stuff, the way it's formatted and presented, and the production quality is getting better all the time. The guy that does the announcing for the 2.4 hours of Les Mullets, I don't remember his name, but he is one of the primary announcers for NASCAR Cup Series.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
We just invited him for the first one, and he came back for the second one. So.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of what's happened over the last
Yeah.
year, UMI King of the Mountain. Again, look for that. It's a great event. If you can watch some videos on it, you can see some really great driving, some really, really cool cars. Everything from, old C2 Corvettes, C3 Corvettes being just hammered around the track. I want to say there was even maybe an old Nova, like a 60s Nova that might have been out there.
That guy's kind of local to us. Justin Null.
Oh, is he really?
That yellow Nova.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. He's, if I remember correctly, he's from the Midwest area here, too.
Okay.
Which, so is Jeremy Swenson and Andy
Smedegard. Yep. Andy Smedegard's in our state, which I know sometimes he's been at Black Hawk Farms when we've been at events, or I know when I've raced with Fox Valley or Central Wisconsin, whichever one it is, he's been at some of those autocross events in the past.
Sure.
So there's UMI, and then there was the Ranger, whatever. The Danger Ranger. So a lot of cool things kind of happening in the if you're looking for automotive entertainment.
Yeah.
That's happening more in the,
Stuff
amateur
that's a
side.
more grassroots.
Yes, definitely more grassroots. You may have heard of Jeremy Swenson or Andy Smedegard, Robert Thorne, but they're certainly not, what you'd call a household name or anything like that,
Right.
or even
It's not like NASCAR Cup names. It's not like Jeff Gordon or
Right.
Jr. or anything like that.
Right.
So, but the
So
interesting thing is that those guys might have more driving skill, but we may never know if they don't ever go head to head.
Oh, the NASCAR guys.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sure these guys have more skill. I'm almost positive. If you watch any NASCAR race that they did on road courses this year, it's like,
well,
not everyone.
Not
there
all.
are very good. There are some good, and they are very good drivers, and that's great. They're doing very good. But there's a lot of people. It was like, really, oh, that's right. That's why NASCAR doesn't do road courses, and this year they just shoved in road courses.
Yeah, actually, I know that you don't watch much for NASCAR. I used to watch NASCAR a lot when I was in middle school
too.
and high school.
I'll be fair. The reason I don't watch NASCAR anymore, I don't have an antenna.
Well, you don't need an antenna.
I don't have antenna and I don't have cable. I'm not paying some special subscription price for it.
Then you just
I'm streaming off other accounts.
But no, actually, this is the first year that's kind of really re-triggered me to get back into
Right.
watching NASCAR, and it's been super interesting. I don't care for their points setup that they have. It's kind of screwy because they have a regular season and then they have a playoff season.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the regular season means nothing?
Nope. The regular season means very, very little. The person who gets the regular season championship carries 50 points into the postseason, basically.
Is that something new within the last couple of years?
Last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I still don't even have my brain fully wrapped around it. It's kind of difficult. But then they do the playoffs, and it takes it all the way down to it turns into an elimination style for the playoffs, down to the last 4 drivers, and then how they determine the championship is those last 4 drivers. The only way you win is you win the last race of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're one of the last 4 dudes and you get wrapped up in a wreck because of lap traffic or something like that, sorry.
Right.
You can't be the champion because you got wrecked.
Right.
So it's a little, it's different. It's kind of questionable, but it seems to work okay, I guess. At least this year anyway, since I was paying attention, I can tell you that it worked out pretty good because those top 4 guys ended up finishing top 4 in the race.
Oh, okay.
All duking it out for the championship spot. So, but between 6 road courses and a dirt track race, it's been a very interesting year.
Yeah. No, I know this is the first time where I kind of in the last couple of years where it's maybe I should get an antenna, and it just it never worked out because usually I'm racing on a Sunday, and if I'm not racing on a Sunday, I'm doing something with the family because I'm not racing.
Right.
So I don't get time to sit down and watch it. But it was, you're right, the first time in a long time where I went, oh, that would be kind of fun, or that could be fun to watch because they're doing more than just racing in a circle.
Yeah. And with the next gen car that's coming out for next year, it's going to be a lot less like NASCAR and a lot more like Australian Supercar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's a whole new chassis. They're going to be a spec chassis regardless of manufacturer. I don't know what they're doing for engines, if it's still going to be manufacturer specific for each engine
I would
platform.
assume it is.
I would assume it is as well. But they're no longer going to have 5 lug nuts. They're going to have center nut wheels
Oh, okay.
and stuff like that. So
Are they going to have aero, or is it going to be...
it's still yes, but it's going to be still more like NASCAR in the way of that.
Oh, okay. When you were like, oh, it's going to be like supercar, first thing I think of is different is the big wing.
Well, yeah. Which
so like
NASCAR did that at one point.
Not really. They did a wing, but it's not like the supercar wing. Which I was like, really, they're going to do that? Because for that on a circle track, like not that it can't be useful, but you're creating a lot of drag at those speeds.
Yep. Yep. But it'll be interesting to see how next season goes with a new car, and they're going to have I think they have 6 road courses on again, and they have Bristol on dirt again, and so like this year the Clash, the NASCAR Clash or the Cup Clash, whatever you call it, which is basically their premier opener for the season. It's a non-points event. This year they did it at Daytona. This next year, they're doing it in a Coliseum in California. They're building a temporary blacktop track in a Coliseum, and it's going to be a 1/4-mile track.
Jesus.
So that's going to be wild. They are cutting the field down from 40 cars to 20 cars for that
Wow.
race. Yeah. But that's going to be super, super interesting. Brand new cars that nobody has any experience with. On a 1/4-mile track in a Coliseum.
And they're only going to have 20 people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I mean, 20 of those cars end to end is almost
no,
mile.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, it almost makes me wonder, are there going to be some drivers and teams that are going to be like, it's not worth going to?
I think it's a you have to qualify type thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you obviously have to qualify.
And
you have to show up to qualify.
I'm sure,
but,
like lower budget teams, they may just be like,
never mind.
Yeah. Which is fine. That's okay. Yeah.
If you say so.
Just got to be there for the rest of the races.
Yeah, I guess. So the next thing I wanted to lead into was a big thing that people have been talking about last 2 weeks, is what I'd say, is the 2023 Acura Integra that is coming out. And they had released some concepts, or I don't know if people had ideas of the concepts, but people were not too happy about it.
Which is pretty standard across all concept
Yes, this
releases.
is a thing. This was something we talked about with, and one thing that was pointed out in a lot of the articles that I read about this, and I guess let me just say right now, for copyright reasons, I don't know if we can or can't show you a picture of it, so we won't show you a picture of it. What I will do is show you a meme of it, people comparing it to a cross tour. And I get why they compare it to that. It does kind of look like that.
Yep.
And one of the big things, like you said, a lot of prototypes don't ever end up looking like the production car. And everyone was even hesitant when Nissan came out with the new Z car and they showed the prototype. And they said it was like 95% of the way there. And people were hopeful, but I think people were kind of holding out. Now they've released the Z. People have seen, actual production vehicles and everything like that.
And it is close.
And it is. It's
in the
very...
way of concept to reality,
and
it's
that's
very close.
Right, and that's one thing that I've seen brought up in a lot of articles is how Nissan has kind of fed to the enthusiasts what they wanted and hasn't misdirected them with some prototype or
Sure.
something like that.
Yep.
They came out with something that was almost ready for production and didn't really make that big of changes to it. If anything, I think they wanted to release that prototype to make maybe some small cosmetic changes from the feedback they got, but they didn't change very much at all. I couldn't really tell much of a difference between the prototype and what they've released as the production car.
Sure.
But the Integra was one of those ones people were very disappointed with, and I'm not saying it looks great or it looks good or revolutionary or anything, but I don't know what people expected. I know there's some
based on the prototype, people expected what an Integra has always been, a two-door sports car, and that is not what they got.
Right. And I get that.
They ended up with a four-door sedan in its place.
I get that, but they just and maybe
I mean, this is.
I know there's like
It's not
it'd
as
be
bad.
cool to a two-door all-wheel drive is one of the things I kind of heard from some of the conversations with people we had at
Sure.
autocrosses and stuff like that. A two-door all-wheel drive car, they'd love it like that. Something with a Type R powertrain and things like that.
And it ended up as none of those things.
Right, and that's where I don't quite get why people were so disappointed, or rather why people, I almost want to say, let themselves be misled so easily, because there's not a market for that. If they were going to do if there was going to be a two-door sports car that Honda or Acura was going to do, why wouldn't it be the S2000?
Sure.
Why wouldn't they revive that? Because the S2000 in my opinion
There's much
has more of a
market.
purpose, or
It's made
it's
to be a
something-
streetable race car.
well, it's something more marketable than a two-door sports car that's not really a sports car, because the Acura Integra wasn't a sports car, but it was supposed to be this two-door kind of
the Japanese version of a hot hatch.
yes, that's it's supposed to be this everyday car you could use, but then it was sporty, and there really isn't an area for that anymore. I mean, that's why they've gotten rid of the Fiesta ST and the Focus ST. You don't see things like the Cobalt SS anymore. You just have the regular Cruise, and I don't even know if the Cruise is around anymore. I mean, the Dodge Dart is gone. So you're seeing those cars go away. People are moving more over to crossovers and stuff like that. Not saying it's a good thing, but I don't know why everyone was so surprised. There isn't that market anymore. And if they were going to come out with something that was going to be a two-door sports car and actually stick with it, it would be the S2000 name. It would not, or something similar, S3000, whatever.
Well, that's one of the big problems with car companies trying to revive old names and
Right.
make modern vehicles under old names, is you end up with things like the Mustang Mach-E. Well, it's got the Mustang name on it, but it's an SUV, which is highly disappointing.
Yeah, no one looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's a Mustang,"
And you end up with things like the Mitsubishi Eclipse, which has always been a two-door all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive sports car, or like an economy car that was sporty-ish.
I don't think that was so misleading, because even the last Eclipse,
Well, it ended up as an SUV. It's an SUV
Eclipse?
now. The Eclipse is an SUV. It's a
Oh.
crossover.
Are you sure not? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, it's a Mitsubishi,
It's-
so who really cares? If it's not a Lancer Evo, no one gives a crap. But just from reading, on their Acura's website, VTEC turbo engine obviously depends on what that engine is. If it's going to be a 2 liter or 2.4.
1.5.
That's That's a problem.
and it makes 200 horsepower.
Okay, never mind. I was about to start defending this thing.
Yep, you were.
I was like, if
you're
it's
hoping for a 2-liter that makes 300 horsepower.
well, not even 300 horsepower, but something like the Focus
250.
ST. Yeah, where it's 250 horsepower, 6-speed manual, and I'm looking at it. It's got 4 doors. It's got a big trunk to it. This is something because I currently have a Focus ST,
Yep.
and it doesn't work for me anymore. I can put a car seat in it, but then my wife's knees will be immediately destroyed if we ever get in a wreck.
Right.
And the car seat can't go behind me because I've got too long of legs. So for me to work the clutch pedal and everything, I have to have the seat back. And I saw this and I went, maybe this is something I could look at getting. But a
Right.
1.5 liter turbo engine that only makes 200 horsepower is too little.
Yep.
And now I'm on the bandwagon. It should not be called the Integra.
Right.
It does come with a 6-speed manual and a limited slip differential.
Yep. So it has certain sporty aspects to it that are good, and it's we're almost kind of spoiled in this modern age of turbocharged engines because anytime you get a turbocharged 4-cylinder, we expect that 250 horsepower, but it also means that you can take a really small engine and make okay horsepower.
Right.
That would have been if it was, think back to the original Integras in the 90s and the early 2000s.
With B18s.
When they had 180 horsepower,
Right.
we're like, yeah, that's great.
Right.
Well, now it makes 200 horsepower. That's more.
Right, but it weighs like 2 tons.
It does. It's going to be significantly
right.
more.
I'm sure it's probably a much more torquey motor, so it'll still feel faster and it'll probably get off the line faster, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Wow, but then, you have to consider, the original Integras, those cars weigh, 2,400 pounds. They're super, super lightweight.
Let me just read this blurb from Acura's website. With the available 6-speed manual transmission and limited slip differential, there are no shortage of smiles as you enthusiastically roll your own gears in full control. Performance isn't just a goal, it's the language we speak. Well, no one else is speaking because that's hot garbage.
And the only reason at all that there is an outrage over this car is strictly 100% because it has the Integra name on it.
Right, exactly.
If they called it the Acura
Epsilon.
literally, and if
something.
they just gave it a new name, people would be like, oh, that's actually really cool. A car that doesn't make huge horsepower, but it's better than your average Econobox.
Right.
It's 4 doors, it can seat your family, and it's got a decent enough trunk space to haul some stuff around and go to the beach or the park for a picnic or whatever.
Which I don't even think it's all-wheel drive.
I haven't seen whether or not it's all-wheel drive or just front-wheel drive. But regardless, in either...
I do like the Phoenix Yellow.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because you have a Tangerine Scream.
Scream.
It's very close.
But other than that, it's kind of hot garbage. And now as I'm looking into this, I understand, like you said, it's got the 1.5 liter in it. Yeah, it's too small. They're focusing too much on the economy side of it. I mean, the Focus ST has a 2-liter engine and it can get 30 miles to the gallon.
Which, this is one
great.
of them things we're just going to have to let it marinate and give it some time. Because this will be the release. And a year or 2 years or 3 years in, they might have an Integra Type R that makes 300 or 400 horsepower.
No, they won't. We're about to go through a recession.
Wow, way to be optimistic, TJ.
No, it's just not. It's not going to happen. That's DOA. That is DOA. Well, I guess that's a good place as any to end it. One of the things to look out for UMI coming in 2022 should be a great event. I would say,
things to keep an eye on is just the expansion and the growth of UMI events and Freedom Factory events.
For sure.
Yep. As far as grassroots motorsports, that's gaining really good traction on a national level and gaining a lot of attention. Those 2 facilities and those promotions are good ones to keep an eye on.
Exactly.
So,
and
it'll be interesting to see where this Summit Autocross Week goes. That could be another grassroots thing that really takes hold and turns into something pretty cool.
Yep. I think the really cool thing there is just about anyone can get involved. It's 300 people. There's no invite or anything. You register for it, so anyone can get involved. So if you have any interest in, if that sounds like anything you'd want to do, go out to Summit's website, check for it, Summit Autocross Week. Just put that in Google, you'll find it. Check it out, see if it's something you want to do. It should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
One of the things, I guess, this is obviously season 2, episode 1 of Hammered with Cars. One of the things we're going to try and do this year is we're going to try and do a monthly release of videos, so keep watching out for that, as we want to try and give content throughout the season. Kind of meeting, what Tyler and I plan to do is meet before we head to autocrosses and kind of give updates of what's going on, following the automotive world as well as the motorsports world, and try and keep you guys updated and give us our give our useless opinions,
nonsensical opinions.
Yep.
Hopefully interjected with a fair amount of comedy.
Yep.
Entertainment value.
Coming this December, as of right now, I will for sure be going to PRI and checking that out. It sounds like actually Robert Thorne is going to be there, so hopefully we can get a chance to talk with him and get a look at the car.
Jeremy Swenson's car is going to be there. I would assume he is going to be there.
He probably
as well.
will. Whether he'll be there the same day we are. I guess it's the same with Robert Thorne. So look for that. That's December 11th. We'll be at PRI. So we'll have a video coming out shortly after that, kind of just going over everything. PRI trade show, it's not open to everyone. It's open to businesses and media and things like that. So we wanted to try and get in there and get some video and show you guys what's there at PRI, what kind of new things manufacturers are coming out with. There's all sorts of suspension companies as well as engine companies and everything like that.
And that'll be a little bit of all kinds of different segments of racing as well. It's
not
just confined to only drag racing or only
there's dirt racing, there's oval track, there's drag racing, there's all sorts of stuff
off-road
there.
Racing, all kinds of stuff.
There's just everything there. So look for that video, because that video should be a pretty good one. That'll be much more focused on PRI rather than just a regular kind of podcast thing that we're doing here. So keep an eye out for that, and I guess until next time, thanks for watching.
Yeah, keep the shiny side up.
Yes, shiny side up. This is Hammered with Cars. Have a good night, guys.